Okay.
All right. Hey, man, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So anyone who's watching this video, Jordan and I wanted to just get on because there's been a lot of questions lately about payment deferral programs and what lenders will and won't do and how beneficial are they. And even he and I had a deal earlier this week where we went, did a webinar, and I would think that we didn't really cover this topic very well. So we wanted to just cover it again real quick.
And it's changing pretty rapidly too. So the
Right.
information's out there now. We just have to decipher it.
Right, right. So what we wanted to talk about real quick is just all these lender deferral questions, deferring payments. You probably know that the America First Act that they passed allows people legally to defer their payments. Forbearance is what it's also called. But it gave a lot of latitude, and it basically said that lenders have to allow this, but it doesn't really. I think it's maybe a misunderstanding for most people of what they have to allow and how it may or may not impact them. So Jordan, what sort of things have you been hearing so far on this issue? Like
So,
what are people telling you?
so I think everybody's excited to take advantage of it. And it occurred to me a few days into this that, hey, there's no free lunch and everything has strings attached. So I started wondering what those strings were, and realtor friends of mine were calling me and saying, hey, what do you think of these plans? Should I take it or should I not? And they'd have their own opinions. So I really wanted to know, what are the effects of taking their delayed payments or suspended payments, and what does that do to you, and what does that do to you if you're an investor and you want to buy another property in a year? So
Right.
I think that's when I reached out to you. And it just all seems like a good idea at first glance. And it's like sharing an article. You read the headline looks great, then you look into the article and it's not so good. So I think I've gotten a lot of that from people of, hey, what does this actually mean? How do I take advantage of it? And then what does it mean if I do take advantage of it? And that's a little bit what I wanted to clear up today here too.
Yeah, yeah. I think the end result from I've tried to do some more research on specific lenders and things, and certainly don't want to rifle through every lender in the country or anything like that. But I found two lenders pretty easily what their policy was because it was pretty clearly stated, and so I thought I would kind of bring that as part of the conversation. So I will mention them in case you have them as a lender. Keep in mind your situation may vary, so you should still be checking details with them, but PHH, which is a local lender, or I mean, services a lot of loans here. They're allowing for between 3 to 6 months of forbearance with no penalty, you're still getting charged interest on the loan balance, but you're not paying any penalties, you're not paying any late fees. There's also they're saying that they're not going to report you negatively to credit. So I think that was one of my big concerns is if you get reported negatively to credit, 3 missed payments, you're going to have an awful time getting a loan for the next 1 to 2 years. And I would say more likely 2 than 1, but for sure, absolutely for sure, 1 year that you wouldn't get a refinance, or
Hmm.
at a good rate, right? You could get one at a criminal rate, but not a good rate. And if you went any more than 3 months, you can easily expect that to be 2 years. All FHA would be out of the question for the next 2 years, even with 3 missed payments. Um, I also checked out Wells Fargo, obviously a really big lender, and their policies were very similar. Both PHH and Wells Fargo had something that I thought was interesting. PHH specifically said in their stuff that you will owe whatever you don't pay at the end of the forbearance period. So that means that, let's say, for example, your payment's $1,500 a month and you don't pay it for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, you owe them $4,500. This isn't tacked on at the end or anything like that. Wells Fargo left it a little more open. They said you could do A, B, C, or D depending on your circumstances. So if you're really just trying to take advantage of the situation and you can afford to pay it, my hunch is that's going to mean you have to pay out 4,500. They're not they're most people mistakenly think that when you make the company you make a payment to makes a lot of money on that each month. They don't actually own it. There's a bondholder investor who owns it. That company that you're paying your payment to, whether it be PHH, Wells Fargo, US Bank, or any major servicer, is generally going to receive $50 to $75 to service that loan. That's their payment for servicing the loan for a month. Now, everything's digital, so that's a good deal for them, because it's not like it costs them a ton of money to do it. But they do have staff, right? It's not free for sure. And they've got systems and everything else. And they've got all kinds of things they need to do to service your loan. Um, but they're only getting $50 to $75. The rest of that payment has to either go to the tax person, if it's escrow, has to go to the mortgage insurance company, has to go to all the different places. And the principal and interest, except that $50 to $75 goes to the bondholder. And they're obligated to pay that even if you don't pay them. So on a $1,500 principal and interest payment, for example, they still have to pay 14 and a quarter to 14.50 to someone else, even if you don't pay. So they're going to be looking for that money because they can't front people's payments for 6 months in mass, right? They just can't do that. So they are going to be looking for that, and I do believe that a lot of people are going to kind of regret it. So my take is, if you can afford it, pay it. If you can't, by all means, you need to check this out.
And that's exactly what I wanted to know. Because yeah, it sounds great, but if you're an investor like me and you want to buy another property as soon as you can, something like this could put you on a 2-year hiatus, and that's not very attractive.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I
yeah, it
would
might
say,
be tough for a few months. You might have a tenant or two that doesn't pay. You might have to come out of your own pocket, and it just all around seems like a better way to go.
well, I think so, because in the end, you're going to owe the money. So if it's the difference
Mhm.
between you, like literally going into foreclosure or not, or something like that, by all means, you need to do it, right? Like, but if it's easy to do, then you need to pay it. If it's somewhere in between easy and not easy, I think you should strongly consider paying it first before you look at other options. I think good options are, utility companies are not reporting to credit, so that's not going to
Mhm.
affect your credit. They only report if you have like collection with them or something like that. So I would look to them first and see if you can work out payment plans with them, or not pay them for at least a short period of time, something like that. If you're in a pinch, and then if you have to go to this, maybe you don't defer the whole payment. Maybe you defer 1,000 of it and you pay 500 of this $1,500 mythical payment, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um, yeah. So, Jordan, any other final thoughts?
No, I think what I'm just gathering from this is you need to talk to your lender and explain your whole situation and maybe your future plans to your lender, and see what this looks like for you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think if anyone on here is considering this, I would personally like to talk to them, even if I'm not their lender, just to kind of help out. I mean, at this point, I want to be a resource, and
Hmm.
frankly, I don't want someone to come back to us later and go, "Oh gosh, I wish I would have found a way to pay this because I really want to, because I could refinance." So we're expecting rates to be really low all year. People will be able to consolidate debt, and maybe now isn't the right time for you to do that, but we're expecting that's going to be possible, and I don't want you to lose that option, even if you're going to end up somewhere else. I'd be happy to answer that. And I think, Jordan, how do you feel about
Yeah,
clients calling you?
I would do the same too. I think, reach out before you make a decision. I'm not a lender, but I can absolutely just give you a second opinion and tell you my thoughts. And you absolutely don't have to take them, but I'm here to talk.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much. And, please leave us some comments and share this video. We'd love to get the word out to more people.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim, and thanks for everybody that's tuning in.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Bye.